Everyone in the room laughed. Not loudly, not cruelly, just enough to sting. The kind of laugh that doesn't need sound to hurt. It was the laugh of polished shoes, silk suits, and people who had never known what it felt like to count coins at a grocery store. The man standing at the center of that laughter didn't flinch. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't even blink. He simply stood there, holding a thin brown folder, his shoulders squared like a soldier who had already survived worse than humiliation. Ethan Cole was a single father of 2, and moments ago, he had calmly said, "I'm the new owner." Across the boardroom table sat Victoria Langford, the billionaire CEO of Langford Holdings. Her name alone carried weight. She had built empires, crushed competitors, and turned companies into gold. Her presence was intimidating, her gaze sharp enough to dissect lies. When Ethan spoke, she assumed it was a joke. A bad one. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, lips curling into a smile that held no warmth. "You," she said, her tone smooth, almost amused. "You're in the wrong room, Mr. Cole," he replied quietly. "Ethan Cole." Someone whispered. Someone scoffed. Another executive checked their watch. To them, Ethan was invisible, a man in a worn jacket who didn't belong among billion-dollar decisions. Victoria let out a soft laugh and gestured toward the door. "Security will escort you out. This meeting is for shareholders." Ethan didn't move. Instead, he thought of his daughter Emma, 6 years old, waiting at home with homework spread across the kitchen table. He thought of his son Noah, asleep on the couch because Ethan worked late shifts driving a delivery van just to keep food on the table. He thought of his late wife, Lily, whose last words to him echoed louder than the laughter around him now, "Promise me you won't quit, even when they don't see you." "I'm not here to disrupt," Ethan said calmly. "I'm here to claim what already belongs to me." Victoria's smile faded slightly. "This is getting tedious." Ethan placed the folder on the table and slid it forward. "Then let the paperwork speak." Victoria didn't touch it at first. Her eyes scanned Ethan from head to toe, calculating, dismissive. Finally, more out of irritation than curiosity, she reached out and opened the folder. Her expression froze. The room fell silent. Inside were documents, original share transfer certificates, notarized, dated, sealed. Her fingers tightened as she flipped through the pages. Each page felt heavier than the last. She stopped breathing when she saw the signature at the bottom of the final document. Her father's. Richard Langford. Dead for 3 years. The laughter was gone now. Ethan watched as the color drained from her face. "Your father believed in second chances," he said softly. "He believed in people who were overlooked." Victoria's voice trembled just enough to betray her shock. "Where did you get this?" Ethan's mind drifted back 20 years. Back when he was just a broke college student working nights at a diner. Back when Richard Langford used to sit in the corner booth, black coffee, no sugar, reading financial papers. Ethan remembered how he once helped the old man after he collapsed from low blood sugar. How he stayed with him at the hospital when no one else showed up. How Richard asked about his dreams, his fears, his plans. How Ethan never knew the man was a billionaire, because Richard never acted like one. "He told me," Ethan said, "that one day, when the world laughed at me, I should let the truth answer for me." Victoria stood abruptly. Her chair screeched across the floor. "This is impossible." "Yet here we are," Ethan replied. Her legal team rushed forward, examining the documents with growing panic. Whispers filled the room again, but this time, they were afraid. Ethan remained still. Because this was only the beginning. Victoria Langford had faced hostile takeovers, economic crashes, and courtroom battles, but nothing prepared her for the quiet authority of the man now standing at the head of her boardroom. The same room where she once laughed. The legal counsel cleared his throat. The documents are legitimate. The shares, they transfer controlling interest. Victoria felt something unfamiliar twist in her chest. Fear. Not of losing money, but of losing control. Ethan didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He looked tired. The kind of tired that came from years of holding the world together with bare hands. I don't want revenge, he said, reading the room. I want responsibility. Executives exchanged confused glances. I know what it's like, Ethan continued, to work until your body breaks and still come home wondering if you're enough. I know what it's like to raise kids alone and choose between time and survival. This company has power. And power should protect people, not crush them. Victoria swallowed hard. For the first time in her life, she remembered her father's voice. Watch how they treat people who can't offer them anything. She looked at Ethan again, not as a joke, not as a threat, but as a mirror. Why didn't you come forward sooner? She asked quietly. Because I wasn't ready, Ethan replied. I needed to become the man your father believed I could be. The room was silent as Ethan outlined his vision: fair wages, ethical leadership, rebuilding trust. It wasn't idealistic. It was disciplined. Real. Built from struggle. One executive finally spoke. You're a single father. Running this company will consume you. Ethan nodded. So did poverty. So did grief. So did being underestimated. I survived all of it. Victoria stood slowly, then did something no one expected. She extended her hand. Then let's build something worthy of his signature. Ethan shook it. Outside the building, cameras flashed. Headlines exploded. A single dad. A billionaire empire. A signature that changed everything. That night, Ethan went home and helped Emma with her homework. He tucked Noah into bed. Nothing about his love had changed, only the reach of it. And somewhere, millions would soon hear his story. Because stories like this don't just entertain, they remind us that quiet strength wins, that patience beats arrogance, and that the world often laughs, right before it learns the truth. The handshake was photographed from every angle, but no camera could capture what truly shifted in that moment. Power didn't change hands with arrogance or celebration, it changed hands with silence and weight. Victoria Langford returned to her seat slowly, as if gravity itself had increased, while Ethan remained standing, not out of pride but because he had spent his entire life standing when sitting wasn't an option. The boardroom no longer felt like a battlefield, it felt like a reckoning. Executives who once ignored janitors now avoided Ethan's eyes, unsure how to speak to a man who had risen without stepping on anyone's neck. Victoria cleared her throat and addressed the room, her voice steady but stripped of its former sharpness, announcing that all future decisions would be made jointly until a full transition was completed, and for the first time in years, the room listened without interrupting. Ethan noticed small things: the way assistants stopped whispering, the way security guards straightened when he passed, the way respect arrived quietly instead of demanding attention. Yet his mind wasn't on the company, it was on the school pickup he almost missed, the parent-teacher meeting he once skipped because overtime meant rent. When the meeting finally ended, Victoria asked him to stay behind, and once the doors closed, the billionaire facade cracked just enough to reveal a daughter who had never fully understood her father. She asked Ethan about Richard Langford, not as a tycoon but as a man, and Ethan told her about the hospital room, the stories, the way Richard believed legacy wasn't money but impact. Victoria listened, eyes wet, realizing too late that she had inherited an empire but misunderstood its foundation. Days turned into weeks, and the company began to change, not loudly, not recklessly, but deliberately. Salaries were reviewed, layoffs reversed, predatory contracts ended. Employees whispered Ethan's name with disbelief, calling him the CEO who listens. Media outlets tried to bait him into flashy statements, but he refused interviews unless they focused on workers, not him. At home, Emma once asked why people on TV said Daddy was important now, and Ethan smiled and told her he had always been important, just not visible. Victoria watched him from a distance, learning leadership not from books but from example, slowly understanding that authority didn't come from fear but from consistency.